when I ask people to think of their, to think of an experience where they know their mother really loved them, and it's surprising how many people can't have a single example. Well, my first that I remember so clearly was because this is after my illness in that time, but later when I was, I think, probably 10, and it was my birthday, and my mother had bought this this puppy for me, and it was and so in our backyard, she was at one catty corner, I was at the other. He was this little black puppy with a little blue bow and a birthday card, and we'd each just call him, and he'd run back and forth between each of us, and like her love coming and my love coming. It was a very magical, wonderful experience. Another time, about a couple of years later, on the corner of our street was Dr. Goldrick. His house is now turned down. It's now an apartment building. I was making a balsa plane, and I cut my knee with the razor blade. My mother takes me up to Dr. Goldrick into a packed waiting room, and he says, "Well, I need some stitches." Well, I'll have to see these people first. I'll come back. So my mother held it, and then when he came to me, he said, "It doesn't need stitches. It's fine." So about every day, I look at that scar and I say, "That's my mother's healing." When she was in the nursing home at the end of her life, I would take her out into the garden at this place under a tree, and she's in a wheelchair, and I'd play the castanets to her, and I could see her in her demented state. I could see her responding. There was one time in the middle of summer when we're inside in her little room, and she's got loose sandals on, and so's Susan, my wife, and they both have bunions. And my mother is stroking Susan's bunions, and I'm sure she thought they were her own. And then she just put that all down. We weren't married then, and she took my hand. This is when she's supposed to be demented. She took my hand and Susan's hand, and that's when we really got married. And we'd have her dance and everything. It was just this, and I would feed her as she would feed me. I opened up the garage door, and so it was a chance to mother her as she had mothered me. Then, about 6 months before she died, I went to see her with my grandson, who was just a few months old. And now we would see her twice a year, we'd come over to Australia to see her. And they'd say, "She hasn't talked since you left." And we would take her out of this rubber sort of chair, they dumped them in every day, and we'd have her dancing and so forth. And she would talk, sometimes quite wonderfully, little sentences, but quite wonderfully. And this time she sees my grandson, her great-grandson, and she just sort of grabs the baby, and she's holding it just like she held me and my brother, and she starts rocking it back and forward, and she's saying, and she's stroking its head, "Little darling, little darling." This goes on and on and on. When we had to leave, it was so difficult to get the baby away from her. So I got her a doll, and it was beside her bed when she died, and she'd stroked virtually all the hair of the baby's head. So that's what's inside my mother, that was inside, and that's what's inside every mother. If we just would help her and allow her, it's there in every mother, and that's what we don't look for. We look for the time she wouldn't give us wear the lipstick or this or that, and there's all this other. There is her soul in there, and as they become more demented in a way, you just see more and more of the soul and less of the superficial ego, But it's all there.